So today is September the 2nd. Oh, wow. September the 2nd, 2022. Yesterday was my daughter's birthday. And now we are doing our Q&A to see if there's any questions, anything that we can go to A Course in Miracles to get answers. And it's you and me, Miss Dondra.
Okay. I listen to Lori Ladd. I find that she does her own. She doesn't read anything. She doesn't use any kind of books or follow anybody, and she's pretty much right on with the teachings of the Course of Miracles. But I was just listening to one a little earlier, and she was talking about how we're in such a narcissistic relationship with everything, the government, everything that's going on around us.
Yeah.
And I don't know how this would apply to the Course in Miracles in any specific teaching, but it's relationships that we've even been involved with. And that's what she was referring to about, standing your ground and coming from love and stopping and feeling into the situation before you respond to it. But it's how everything right now is going on around us with our freedoms being taken away. So I don't know what lesson would even, where it would even go in that direction with the Course, but we have our natural freedoms, but when somebody starts impinging upon them, standing in our sovereignty.
Well, I would say I have enjoyed listening to her. I don't listen to her too often, because for me, it became clear that I just needed to focus to those teachers that are channeling Jesus. And
Yeah.
so that tends to be where I go. But I had definitely heard her a while back, and I always found that whatever she was sharing was really always in alignment with the Course. And the reason being is because the truth is the truth is the truth. And like the Course says, it's a required course, but not because it's a course in miracles, but because it's required that we understand the truth of who we are. And when you distill that down to its core essence, yes, what is happening right now is that humanity is in the midst of some crazy narcissistic stuff that's going on. And it's narcissistic because there are, oh, on a second. Sorry about that. When anybody comes home, my sweet little doggy goes crazy. But anyhow, humanity is having to work through a very narcissistic tendency that we have. And, people who don't think that they're narcissistic, we all have that ability to be narcissistic, which is it's all about me and nobody else matters. And we can even do that in spiritual circles. We can become so narcissistic that I am the one that has all the spiritual knowledge and nobody else has it. And we have experienced that from religion. We experience, the crucifixion of Jesus was a very narcissistic act by those who thought that they knew the truth, that they knew what was right for everybody else. And not only did they put Jesus to death, crucified his body because he was wrong, but it was, a massive act of narcissism. Now we're going to make everybody else scared of this. So you better watch what we do to this one. Otherwise we're coming after you and we're going to do the same thing to you. And it's no different today. It really, truly is no different because nowadays we have people who think that they know better for everybody else, that they know better medically, that they know better um, from a standpoint of governance, that a few know what the rest are supposed to do because they are the ones who know better for everybody else. So, but we can't stop and say they are the narcissists that are doing this. We have to collectively recognize that if we don't stand up for our own voice, we permit narcissism. We consent to it. We allow for it to be part of our reality. So part of what we have got to get really clear on is the teachings of the Course are very, very black and white. There's nothing to me that I have ever found that is not in perfect agreement all the way through the Course. And where we have to unite is where the Course tells us that we're all the same. There is only one child of God. There is only one of us here. And if we're all each individually, I'm hearing the same thing, you're hearing the same thing, Billy Bob is hearing the same thing. If all of us are getting the exact same message as the only child of God, the consistency that we are equal must be acknowledged, meaning who here among us has the power to decide who knows better for anybody else and who doesn't. I'm feeling inspired. This has been coming on for a couple of days, and today I recorded the first one, but I'm starting a series that I'm going to be putting them on YouTube, and it's called A Rude Awakening. And the rude awakening is that we have been participating in lies that have been told to us from a very long time ago. And we don't need to spend a whole lot of time going back to who started the lie. That's not so helpful. What is helpful, which is what the Course in Miracles wants us to acknowledge, is, all right, let's correct it. Let's correct it today. Let's acknowledge that we are equal. Let's meet there where we are all the same. And from that place where we acknowledge everybody's equality, we can then have a shift in perception that gives us a miracle. But we have got to become humbled by the fact that not one of us is more right than the other. We all have equal access to the same truth, and each and every one of us needs to make a decision to align with one another in a place of curiosity where we unpack, well, what does it mean to be equal? What are the things that we need to correct and shift and change so that we can allow them to serve all of humanity? And that's part of this process. Is we've got lots of cooks in the kitchen. We've got news people who think that they know it all. We've got politicians who think that they know it all. We got a president who thinks he knows it all, another president who thinks he knows it all. We've got all these different people who think they know it all, and they're talking to the people who want to hear what they have to hear. So we're stuck in these echo chambers, hearing what feeds our own story, and little overlapping into getting curious about, well, why do you see it this way? Why do you believe it's so? Because if we would just have the decency to listen to one another, we would unravel so much of this narcissism a lot faster, because we would begin to hear, my goodness, I'm not the only one who feels this way. I'm not the only one who didn't know that. I'm not the only one who believes this. It would begin to soften this need to be right that the Course wants us to move beyond in order for us to get to the place where we can co-create heaven on earth from a place of equality and peace, of course, and then the ensuing happiness that comes from connecting there. But what else are you, when you listen to that message from Lori about the incredible amount of narcissism, how do you connect that to in your own life where narcissism has been a part of it? Because when we are parents, we can think that we know better. Um, in so many ways, growing up in a church environment where somebody thought that they knew better, and boy, you better follow. You grew up in that, so you've been part of a world that has operated in narcissism. um
The one, cognitive dissonance was the one that she started with. How we're we're so ingrained that we're not questioning anything, and that was part of it. That we've this has been fed to us for all of our lives, and we don't even realize that we've got to say so with what's really going on with how with our individual with ourselves.
yes, yes,
Stop and check in, see how it feels with you, and uh, but that was kind of see how
yes,
you feel about it and
yes,
stand up for how you feel.
exactly, because we're unraveling a big lie. And that's part of what I recorded today, is that this rude awakening is the result of discovering that we have been living a lie. And then I primarily focus on this lie. The essence of the lie is that God is outside of us. And that is what has been taught to us through religion, where we haven't been questioning. We have all been, because it's natural to be, to listen and to collaborate and to accept what other people tell us, because in our hearts we're trusting beings. We that is natural in every ounce of our beingness. But those who understand about manipulation and about lying and that are greedy and selfish and of course narcissistic, it's all about them. And it's all about, well, this little lie that started thousands of years ago, well, we're just going to keep it going. And then it gets handed down from one generation to another, this family to that family. And this family becomes the monarchs, and they get to be the king and the queen. And then it's passed down to their family. For example, today, we watch the the monarchy from England, and we've got Queen Elizabeth and her offsprings, and then their offsprings, and eventually we're going to have the new crown prince or princess is going to be the offsprings. Well, who made that up?
Yeah.
Where did that get started? We didn't have a king or a queen. There wasn't one in the Garden of Eden. So at some point, somebody appointed themselves the king and queen, and not questioning this story has been handed down. And whoever did question it, I am sure that they were met with the death penalty of some sort, maybe some incredible suffering by narcissistic people, to make sure that nobody will question that again. Just like what they did to Jesus. Well, we're going to crucify this one, and everybody else, you all better not even question this story that Jesus is trying to tell us. Well, 300 years later, we'll tweak it and we'll shift it and we'll use it in a way that is going to give us what we want, what we need. Say the narcissists, who are the very ones who put Jesus to death 300 years later. Now we're getting, obviously not the exact same person, but the same group of people who rule from that narcissistic place that the rest of us don't question. And we've got to come to terms with why have we been so afraid to question? We have been so, I'm going to say, dumbed down, made to be so afraid, made to not even use our logic, and so fearful about standing up, what somebody's going to get shot or crucified if you question something. because we have basically have had our courage trained right out of us. That's part of this rude awakening, is we've got to find that courageous voice where we begin to say, this doesn't make sense, and be so committed to the questioning that you're willing to lose your life. And that's where we're going to be seeing the difference between those who are really going to wake up. They are not going to have fear. There's going to be a willingness to question things, because you know that the ultimate freedom is in the having total and complete faith. At some point, this registers on us that this is all made up anyways. So that's even part of the irony of all of this. So these narcissistic people, do they even have power over anybody? They don't even have power. They have nothing that they have that is more than anybody else that doesn't have anything, because it's all equal at the end of the day. Just while we are having this experience of separation, that they appear to have power, they appear to be narcissistic, they appear to be oppressing us. But that's what we have to wake up and come to the place of, no, it doesn't matter. You can take my body, which is exactly what Jesus showed us. You can take this body. It doesn't matter, because I'm not going to bow down to you as being the ruler over me. But at the same time, you're my brother, my sister. I'm not going to be ugly to you. I'm going to treat you like an equal. Oh, so you're wanting to crucify me? Well, I'm not a body, so there. No big deal. And that kind of courage is definitely missing right now.
So, as an individual studying the Course in Miracles, how do we have any effect? We could stand in our own power, and others observe us or don't observe us, whatever. I mean, I guess I'm saying, what can little me do besides just stand in my own power?
Well, what you can do is be an example of this truth. You must lose all fear. You must know that you're just playing the motions. You're just acting out the script that has been written. The scenes are getting acted out for you to play the role of one who either realizes that we have a call for love, a massive call for love right now, or you're operating from fear. So you do actually have a massive role to play. And it's all based on what's going on internally. Because see, the Course does tell us that God did not create a meaningless world. This world has become a place of meaninglessness because we have forgotten the truth of the meaning that each and every one of us carries. So when you find your truth and you're no longer in fear, but this is that honest kind of fear that we talk about in the manual for teachers, in that honest place of zero fear, you realize, okay, I'm just playing a role. My body is going to go through a death experience, but what I am is eternal. So the relationship is with a part of you that has all the meaning in it. So that as you are no longer afraid, of those narcissists who are attempting to scare us into complacency, to scare us into giving up our power and becoming pawns in their game, if you don't give in, by that I mean, if you don't have fear in you, because that's the only place where this can really truly be tested. And that's where for you have found the meaning of God within you. And if you're not afraid, okay, well, today's the day they're coming with the guns and they're going to, execute everybody, Nazi style. If you have peace in your heart, you won the game. You absolutely won the game. There is nothing outside of you that has taken your power from you. And from that place, what happens is that this game for you just disappears. It ends, it completes, and you find yourself on the other side of the physical body. You, like Jesus, just his body got crucified. Let's say yours gets shot. On the other side of the completion of that scene, because that script it is written then for you to complete that way, you just wake up and go, all right, I'm non-physical still. What I am is eternal. And then you get to decide, am I going to come back in and teach the meaning of the true meaning of God? Am I going to reincarnate and bring meaning again? And you come back into a world that is going to be a whatever level of consciousness it's going to be at. And every single one that wakes up and loses their fear and only finds their meaning, they come back in, and more are coming in, dripping into this world a sense of courage that has not been here, that has been gone for so long. So the narcissistic people are actually pushing those who are finding their voice, finding their courage, finding their truth, and those don't care if they lose the body because they're not attached to it. That's where that faith, that freedom comes in, is to have zero fear. So how do we know that we still have fear? Well, are you concerned something's going to be taken from you? Are you concerned there's not going to be enough? Then there's still work to be done. Then the script is written where those narcissists are helping you to push you as far as they can push you to remember the truth of the meaning that got placed in you. Are you going to wake that up in you and remember that and claim it for yourself? Because once you do, nothing external is going to scare you.
Yeah, that's what I keep thinking. We're in the Great Awakening right now. That's what we're going. That's what we're here for.
That's it. There's just
It's
nothing else.
it's I wonder if it's easier. But I might have mentioned this before. Is it harder for people that have been in this indoctrination longer to step out of it than it is for someone that's not been in it as long? Oh, that's whatever. I don't guess that really matters, but it just seems like it's harder sometimes to just. Well, I just really want to pull out as much as I can from all the insanity that's going on around everywhere.
Yes, it would be nice to just get it over with, but that's not the way the script is written. And, in chapter 26 in the text, the title of that chapter is called The Transition. And, the Course in Miracles is, as you know, the text is the first part has 31 chapters. And every single chapter explains how did we get to where we are now. And 26 is the transition. I talk about it in my classes as the bridge. We are on a bridge. We are shifting from ego to God, from fear to faith, from fear to love. We have to transition, but the transition that appears to be external is always a mental transition. It's a transition in our own mind where we're shifting our perception. And these lessons are just so powerful because anybody who takes this information and really lives it, walks it, talks it, embodies it, will not have a single bit of suffering, like Jesus wasn't suffering on the cross, because you're empowered with the truth. And the more that we know the truth of who we are, the more that we begin to become clear that in this first section, it talks about, the sacrifice of oneness, that there is no way to be able to sacrifice our connection to God, our connection to one another. It's just not possible, because ultimately what we are is an aspect of consciousness that is choosing to have what appears to be an experience of separation, what appears to be a physical body that is having this experience with my stuff and my place and my country and my border and my bank account and my child, my car, my house. And I know that it's so difficult to wrap our head around this. This is why this takes so long. But to cultivate a relationship with that part of us that is not that where we really remember the oneness of who we are, where there is no separate self, there is no body, there is no money, there is no bank account, to close one's eye and just go to the place where that is our reality, where that is the ultimate truth that we live from. That's the only place that we're going to find our true freedom. Because once you find it inside and you make that transition to be totally, completely inner guided, now you literally are going to be operating in this world in nothing is going to scare you. Nothing is going to concern you. Now, consciousness can literally inspire you into whatever it might need to be the next thing that happens, the next message that is shared, the next nugget that is dropped to help this entire collective shift out of the seeming game of separation. That's why the sacrifice of oneness, we cannot sacrifice oneness because we never left oneness, but we need to sacrifice our idea of separation by not buying into the things that validate my separate this, that, or the other. Big lessons are coming for people who are going to be experiencing the completion, the ending of the financial systems, the way that they've been. There's going to be a period, a transition from what was the old normal through some rocky times. If you stay at peace in your heart, what we're going to transition to is a world where more people wake up and realize, wait a second, we're one. Let us help each other. And there's going to be a great readjustment that will happen in what appears to be down the road. But for now, the transition is internally. Let me find that place in me that where I am at peace, where I am one with God. And from there, observe the insanity of the loss of what we thought was ours, until we get to the place where humanity is operating more in collaboration and supporting one another, because we know that we are one. So many things appear to be happening, but it's all the result of the same thing. The internal lie that we have been operating from, that we're separate from God and one another. And that we got to correct that in our mind, because our ego is our primary narcissist, attempting to lie to us and make it sound like it's true. And of course, we come to the Course in Miracles. Everybody comes with whatever level of consciousness they have, but the most important thing is to bring the honesty that says, oh yeah, I still have fear. Oh, I'm still operating from the world being separate. I'm still operating from the boss, has power over me. That's where our work is. That's where we need to come inside and continue to shift out of telling ourselves that lie, so that we will then eventually stop believing the external lie, because they're connected. They're connected. The lie that we tell ourselves is the lie that is told to us, because they're projections of each other. Did that make any sense?
Yes, it did. And I guess where I am now, it's like I'm looking at all the years that were spent accumulating or uh, I'm just reflecting on everything now and looking at how caught up we are in the, and I don't use the word matrix, whatever it is that we're all caught up in. Just, I look at my granddaughter who's 21 and she is working 2 jobs, working her butt off and trying to get a real estate license. And I'm thinking, she's only 21 and she's so worn out. She's so tired. She's gotten in the matrix at such a young age. And I just feel, but that's what's happening around. And it's sort of disconcerting to see that, but that's all. Everybody's chosen to be where they are and experience what they're experiencing. So I have to go back to the teachings in that respect. And we all chose to be where we are in this development.
Exactly. And in this development, she is experiencing the result, the consequence of the momentum of the lie, that she has to become something that inherently she has no meaning. She has to earn her meaning, and her meaning then translates to a net worth that then determines her self-worth. But she is living out right now the world that you have been part of setting into motion for her. And not for you to feel bad about it, but rather to acknowledge, wow, look how difficult it has been for you to pull out of the matrix. Well, you now, because you're seeing where she's at, have an opportunity to begin to drop hints, to share what you've discovered. As you begin to have place less value on material things, she begins to go, oh, well, she doesn't value that as much. She's the one who taught me to value stuff and own things and accumulate. And now she's not as into that. So in a way, you begin to help her transition out of that thought system by you talking about your own inner transition. And listen, it's a really, it's tricky, but not tricky, because we like to say, well, but we live in the world and we need the money to pay the bills. Do we really? Or are we telling ourselves this because we're afraid to let go of the matrix? Are we willing to take a stand and say, nope, I'm not paying those bills. I'm going to walk. I don't need to own anything. I'm going to stay in this house and I'm not going to pay the bills anymore. And let's just see what the government does. Let's see what the bank does. Let's see if they're going to come and try and take my house from me, whatever it is. And test your conviction. Are you really free to let it go, or are you still in fear? I'm going through those same questions right now. And I'm sitting inside of, how interesting. Here I am at this stage of life where I don't own hardly anything. And I want to move. I want to make a move to Florida to be near my sister. And it's really fascinating looking at the stuff that is needed to have a place and to lower my expenses. I'd be better off buying something. Well, how can I buy something when I don't have the money needed to buy something? So all of these things are coming up, and I got to keep coming back to me. All right, how am I supposed to have this experience? God, what would you have me do? What would be the funnest way for me to move through this transition? Inspiration comes. All right, time to do another class, time to do another course. We're going to exchange because we're in this world and we're going to trade. That's the way that we do it here. We pass it around. It appears that it's mine, but I'm really giving you money and then you appear to give it to me. I mean, it's just it's silly. At the end of the day, we're just swapping stuff out, swapping ownership just because it makes us feel good. It makes our mind feel comfortable and safe that this is mine and this is yours. And I've got the piece of paper at the bank that says that I have title to that thing. But it's still the same work. Does fear come up? If fear comes up, the transition into God in me is not complete. Is not complete. The egos, the narcissist in my head tell me, oh, you better do what you're supposed to do so that, you have a place. You better do what you're supposed to do so that they don't take your car from you or whatever it might be. So we've got that internal narcissist keeping us afraid. We also have the internal Holy Spirit wanting to liberate us. And the only place we need to get rid of fear is inside of ourselves. If we are fearless within, then we will be guided. We will hear what needs to be done at the right time to do what needs to take care of or needs to be done to take care of whatever it is that this journey is about. So your precious granddaughter has had you and her parents to indoctrinate her into that, yeah, she's got to work really hard to make money, to have anything. If she wants to be as successful as her grandparents were or her parents were, she's going to have to bust her butt to achieve that because that is what she was taught. You begin to unplug from the matrix, to not work so hard to keep the hamster wheels going. You can begin to help her transition by letting her know the things that you have discovered now. That is how she will receive that information sooner, create shifts within her sooner, that hopefully when it's time for her to have children, they will be born into a mother that is no longer doing it the way grandmother and mother taught her, that she has come to a new way of realizing at a young age, at 21, maybe 24, maybe 25, I'm not going to kill myself for this. Why? Look at my grandmother. She's fine and she has let go of all of this stuff. She has let go of needing to be defined by this or have her life be run by this. Look how much she simplified, because you are giving yourself permission to become a new teacher for her, a teacher that takes her completely into a new way of looking at things so that she can transition out of the old way of doing things that we were part of. But all of this is about what's going on inside of you. It's all your internal, honest assessment. Do you trust that you're eternal, non-physical, and all of this is made up? Or do you still believe that this is real out here? And you got to play the game by the rules or you're going to get in trouble. Then the narcissist that's running the show has control over you because you've given it control over you. That's
Yeah,
really,
for an example, I wasn't worried about anything last night. 7 o'clock, I pop awake. I got to go do this. I got to do that. I got to blah, blah, blah. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Where did that come from? Then I think, okay, the mind, Course of Miracles, you're the master of your mind. Back up. But it's almost like I mean, I wasn't even, it was an internal thing that woke me up.
it's so ingrained. It's so internalized, and it is going to continue to activate, it, because in this density, it has to come up so that you have the opportunity to choose again, because everything is a lesson God would have us learn. So you have to take every opportunity, every experience to be in relationship with what is arising in your consciousness that might be fear-based, and who is the one listening to what's coming up in your head. Can you cultivate a relationship of, oh, there's that voice yelling at me again? That's the old conditioning. And sit back and continue to tell that voice, you don't scare me anymore. We have to have that internal dialogue. We have to internally not believe our own inner narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
It has to happen at a core level. This is why this is a journey nobody can take for us, because we are the ones who have to say no more to ourselves. Because we tolerate it on the outside, because we tolerate it on the inside.
Whoa.
We let ourselves lie to ourselves. We let ourselves we're our own narcissist. But at the same time, we also have our own gentle Holy Spirit self within, that if we chose to listen to that voice, we would have a very different outcome. The transition has to happen inside of us. And that, as you know, is how we cultivate trust. It's how we cultivate gentleness, because it's with ourselves. It's how we get honest, because it's with ourselves. It's how we become generous of spirit, because we've got to tap into the place where we access anything and everything that is necessary for us to have this experience, because we are making it up from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
All within. And your your granddaughter is just giving you even more evidence, because when your daughter and your son were her age, you were too lost in the story. You were too much about the hamster wheel and doing what the Matrix told you to do and preparing for the future. You were caught up in that. And you've had all of those years from when your children, before they were born, to today, with, your son is a father, 40 some odd years, 50 years, to assess what is your truth. Then you teach that to your granddaughter. You help her transition out of the old story. The new is being created by the way we want to show up in the world. We have to be the change we want to see in the world. So you're not just getting rid of your fears for you. Yes, you are, but you're also doing it for your children, for your granddaughter, for your granddaughter's children. You now are modeling a whole new way that you couldn't before, because you were not awake.
Yes. And it's in this awakening that you're feeling the pulls and I mean, like you're being torn away from the old way, and you're part of you still trying to grip and hold on, but yet we're going into the new world.
We are.
New way.
Exactly. And in that new world, there is only trust in God's truth. That's it. But we are not used to operating in trusting the truth. And the truth is that we create our reality. So if we want to have a reality where we are not working ourselves to the bone, where all of our needs are met, well, to have that reality, we must begin to believe that that is possible. And how is your daughter or your granddaughter going to know that there's a possible reality where things are okay? Then for you to show her that you are okay, that you're not buying into those old fears, because that programs her mind to then little by little give herself permission to do things differently. It's going to take hundreds of years to turn us around into a new earth. I foresee at least 3 generations, because your daughter, so there's you, your son, and your daughter, 3 generations here right now. Soon there could be a 4th. She could have a child.
Mhm.
So when you look at those 4 generations, the matriarch that taught all of that, you will be transitioning. And then there's going to be the son who believes a lot of what you've said, your granddaughter who has believed a lot of it, and the new child with the new information that you planted seeds for. And then there will be that generation needs to grow up believing that things don't have to be as hard as they were for my grandmother, they were for my dad. And your granddaughter is going to be transitioning, shifting out of the working so hard 2 jobs to make ends meet to maybe one day hoping to do it differently for her son or her daughter, because she'll say, no, I'm not going to kill myself. I'm not even 30 and I'm working my ass off like this. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm so glad grandmother taught me that it's okay. It's okay to let go of some things and to simplify my life and live happier, live with less stress. That's more important to me. And then she'll model that for her son. And then her son will grow up in an environment where to her parent or the child's parent, being happy and being at ease and at peace is more important than material things. But it will have taken a while to go from where material is more important to you, to her dad, trying to inherit what you have. And he ends up with less because it gets split with his sibling. And then the daughter, your granddaughter, gets even less. And little by little, there's less emphasis on stuff because they see that it's valueless. What mattered was you. What mattered was a connection to you, not the stuff that they inherited from you. But that is the way that little by little future generations are going to lose their need to put so much focus on stuff. So we're losing our grip on the attachments, preparing for future generations. It's going to take time. It's going to take time, but all of it starts with internally. Are you trusting God inside? Are you calling out the fears? Are you seeing where there's attachments? Are you seeing where the outer world still has a pull on you? That's where the work is. That
Yep.
inner narcissist that scares us and keeps us from listening to the voice of God, so we can transition to listening only to the voice that gave us our meaning. Because God did not create a meaningless world. God created a world, a universe full of beings that are full of meaning. We need to reclaim our meaning, come to know who we are, and value ourselves enough not to drive ourselves, to working to the bone. But that means we've got to learn how to appreciate ourselves and love ourselves. So thank you for being a teacher of the new way to your granddaughter.
Oh, thank you for the insights.
Absolutely. Thank you for being part of this. And we'll make these every other week to make it a little bit more and just keep building the community. So fun stuff. I so appreciate you, sister. Thank you for being committed to your awakening. Keep your seatbelt on.
Gotcha.
All
All right.
Take care, sweetie.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.